I stared at the pregnancy test for a long time. I could hardly believe what I saw. In fact, I didn't believe it and took 2 more tests just to be sure. They all read pregnant. I'd been longing for a second child, agonizing over it for months, but we struggled with the decision, wondering if it was even right for us to try. For my husband and I, it wasn't as simple as just having another baby. When I learned I was pregnant again, we were excited, nervous, but most of all relieved. We decided not to learn the sex of our 2 children before birth, and I was surprised to find that this was not common practice. Whenever someone would ask, "Do you know what you're having?" and I responded with no, they always seemed genuinely surprised and usually followed this surprise up with, "Well, as long as it's healthy." I even found myself saying it before they had a chance because, let's face it, mostly they were strangers, and the sex of my baby is not their business. And neither is that baby's health, because what if my unborn baby wasn't healthy? My first child was born a beautiful and seemingly healthy baby girl. In fact, in my eyes, she was perfect. She had a calm temperament. She finally did when we caved and gave her a soother. And her eyes were always open and alert, taking in the world around her. As she grew, she became this tiny ball of light and happiness, always smiling and cooing loud enough to make people turn and say, "What a beautiful baby." When we learned that at 15 months old, our perfect little girl had a rare disease called cystinosis, it felt like all the light she had brought into my life had been eclipsed. Cystinosis is a recessive genetic disease, meaning that my husband and I are both carriers of one defective CTNS gene. My daughter had a 1 in 4 chance of inheriting both of our faulty genes to get cystinosis. A 1 in 4 chance that our lives would totally change. A 1 in 4 chance to live a life filled with blood work, doctor's visits, a list of medication hanging on our fridge, and alarms for the timing of those medications, even in the middle of the night. The heartache of knowing that we had given this disease to our little girl and the fear of what her future might hold felt unbearable. As mothers, we want to give our children everything and shelter them from all the pain that we can. At the time of her diagnosis, it felt like I couldn't do that for her, like I had failed her. Even at 15 months old, she was there to prove me wrong. It turns out she not only remained a tiny ball of light and happiness, she also became a force of strength, determination, and inspiration. It absolutely amazes me how someone so young can bring so much crazy hope into my life, even when things are at their darkest. Every day, she proves to the world that no matter what life throws at her, she will weather the storm and continue on with a smile. Taking her cue, I realized that I can still be that strong, protective mama bear, the one who advocates on her behalf and who loves her more fiercely than ever. But when it came to our decision to have another child, I was not the strong mother I wanted to be. The risk of again passing cystinosis on ate away at my resolve. I wanted another baby so badly, but to knowingly play those 1 in 4 odds was terrifying. It wasn't the thought of having another baby with cystinosis. It was the guilt associated with knowing that it was a possibility. What if one day that child grew to blame me? Was I strong enough to take that blame and own it? In the end, my accidental pregnancy felt like divine intervention. We were meant to have 2 children, no matter the medical hurdles that may come. When I got to that stage of obvious pregnancy, the well-meaning conversation with strangers started up again. "Do you know what you're having?" "No, we're keeping it a surprise." "Oh, well, I suppose it doesn't really matter, as long as it's healthy." This time, that phrase cut into me every time someone said it. I know they meant well, and I tried to shrug it off as harmless banter, but I couldn't help but wonder exactly what that phrase implied. Is the love I have for my baby conditional? Will my life suddenly become a sad story filled with only pain and heartache? Will society view them as less acceptable, or less beautiful, or less worthy of love? My son was born without cystinosis, but the fact of the matter is whether or not these gender unknown babies are healthy, most parents will love them just as deeply, if not more, and there can still be happiness in their future. Raising a child with a chronic medical condition is not easy. There are times when I wish with all of my being that cystinosis did not reside in my perfect little girl. And there's still darkness that creeps in from time to time. But the love and joy that radiates from my children fills my heart with hope, and it's worth every second of our time together. So if you're ever asked whether you know the gender of your unborn baby, I have the perfect and most honest response. No matter what, I will love them with all of my heart.